Okay, are you like me, struggling with managing and juggling everything at the same time? I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have kids, parents, but yet I'm always looking for time. And then whenever I sit with my friend Anita, she does a lot more than I do. She has a family, a career. She also makes time for her relationships and for her personal growth. In fact, she just did an amazing run as well. And she makes it feel so effortless. And I was like, okay, I got to know your secret here. And as we sat down and I asked her the question, she shared with me this idea. What is it that you say yes to and what do you say no to? Being intentional. And is that the shortcut to being at peace and at ease and managing our lives much more enjoyably? Enjoy this week's episode. And if you haven't yet, make sure you follow and subscribe to this podcast and do share it out with anyone who might benefit from these conversations. Multitasking and mom, do we celebrate that enough? What do you think?
Yeah, I think as a mom, you definitely have to juggle a lot of things, and you learn that pretty on. The moment you have kids, right? Suddenly you have this extra set of responsibilities, and you don't want to. You want to be able to do well in both roles. The role you have as a partner, as a mother, in your career. And you also want to develop yourself as well and make time for yourself. So you end up trying to make sure you're doing enough in each area. And sometimes you have to flex in one area and sometimes maybe another area suffers a little bit, but then you eventually pick that up as well. I suppose it's a juggling act.
The thing is, I can't really say anything because I'm not a mom. I'm not married. So I'm like, I have like, not that. But the word responsibility, I think, comes very heavy into this conversations of any conversations where I don't think, I get very annoyed when people say you can't multitask. And then I go, well, a mom tends to multitask. So how can you say we don't multitask? And then for me, when I do multitask, I'm terrible at it. So I wondered from a mom's perspective, how do you do it? How do you navigate those buckets?
Yeah, I always think of it's maybe a little bit of an opportunity cost because there's so much you can be doing. And what is the opportunity cost of your time? And I think before kids, I remember watching so much TV. I know I used to binge watch TV so much. Mm-hmm. And now when I think about it, what was the opportunity cost of that time, right? That when you're watching TV, what else could you be doing? And people say there's only so many hours in the day, but actually there is a lot of time if you think about it. Time that I still spend scrolling on the phone, for example. I mean, that's time that you could well spent on something else. So I now think about what do I say yes to and what do I say no to in my life.
How do you determine that, though? How do you navigate that? What do you say yes to and what do you say no to?
I think having your priorities in life, understanding your priorities in life really helps because very often people ask, oh, you want to do this? You want to do that? And do you say yes to that or not? And you really have to check against your priorities. Like, okay, yes, that sounds like a great thing to do. But at this point, no, I have something better to do that evening or something better to do that day. So I think in a way, I used to be that person who used to say yes to everything.
Really?
Now I really think twice about whether I say yes or not.
So how is there priorities in does it have a certain criteria or is it always just priorities? Do you prioritize just work or just family? Or do you also prioritize yourself in this?
Yeah, I have also prioritized myself. And I think I'm really lucky to have a great partner who helps me as well, make sure that I have time for things I want to do. So right now, for example, I'm training for a 10K race, which is in a couple of weeks' time. And so my husband George, he lets I need to take some time off to train during the week, and he makes sure that he takes care of things while I do that, which is great. And similarly, if I have to travel for work, for example, I get that support with making sure that I'm away for a week, sometimes for a couple of weeks, then George makes sure that he handles things, and I think we juggle things well that way.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I do want to invest in myself constantly, because it's not just for myself, it's for my family, it's for my friends, it's people I work with, and the amount I put in myself ultimately helps them as well.
I find it interesting because I know a lot of individuals, like moms. I have met a lot of moms. They will prioritize their family. They'll prioritize their work. They will prioritize self-development, but not fun, not enjoyment. That's like the bottom of the list. And they'll say, yeah, I'm doing self-care, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But there always has this, I should be doing it. But you're saying, I'm doing it because of, I want to do it for my friends, or I want to do it for my family. What does that mean for you?
I think I have a responsibility to myself and to the people around me to be the best I can be. And at every stage in your life, we're all progressing through life and learning as we go. But I want to be able to accelerate that learning as much as I can, because I suppose I have a vision of the person I'd want to be, and I know there are steps to get there. But what I want to do is I want to learn the fastest way to get there. So I suppose I'm trying to find the shortcut ways, right, to be the person I am without spending, I don't know, years just trying to get there. Can I get there in months?
So can you give me an example? I really like that, actually. The shortcut to being me. I'm like, yeah, subscribe me to that one for sure. Give me an example. Like you're doing 10K. That's not shortcut.
That's not a shortcut.
That's not a shortcut.
But I suppose, what is this? If we follow a certain regime of running, that there is a shortcut to 10K. There's a shortcut to marathons. But if I wanted to run a marathon in X amount of time, I can either decide, I'm going to do it in 1 year, I'm going to do it in 2 years, or I might say I want to do it in 3 months. It's all different. But there are certain training schedules you can follow that will get you there faster if you want to. That's running as an example, but in other cases as well, everyone talks about habits, about changing your identity. There's so many ways you can change who you are faster than that. You change your habits, or you try and change who you are as a person, your beliefs, and all these different ways of changing yourself can get you closer to who you want to be faster if you use the faster techniques.
Okay, I need to hear more of this. This is the first time somebody says opportunity cost, and then you can change faster. And everyone feels like changes like this huge mountain that takes long.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what was the easiest change you made that you didn't expect to make?
Right. I had always very low self-confidence in myself. Growing up as a child, I was incredibly shy. I wouldn't talk to people, and I struggled with that all my life. And I was really close to friends who were close to me. And then at some point in my life, I think somewhere when I joined Toastmasters, I decided to make that change.
Yeah.
That I would put myself out there, and I would start taking on things that were uncomfortable to me. And I think that was a change I didn't expect I would be able to make. Mm-hmm. I would be able to make it that fast, because I just decided, and it was difficult, but I started doing it. I started going to Toastmasters, doing speeches, and then I started enjoying it. And that was a change I definitely did not expect to happen in my life. And I think that's probably one of the defining points where I realized that, okay, we can continuously change. I suppose actually there are points in my life throughout that I realized that you can change who you are. I think I can remember another instance when I was in school and I changed schools. I think I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. And in my previous school, I didn't talk to anyone. And when I changed schools, I decided, okay, I need to have more friends in my class. And I suddenly changed my personality to boisterous tomboy when I changed schools because it was an opportunity for me to change.
So you actually said, okay, I'm going to consciously change the way I dress, the way I want to be.
The way I want to be, the way I'm going to just have fun and play around in school,
Yeah.
and rather than just being a quiet person. So and then I lost that when I went to work. I got again into my shell. I didn't talk to people. I was in a new country here in the UK, and culture was different. And
Yeah, it's a big change.
I just said, I'm not talking to anyone. I don't know anyone. I'll just stick to my work, and that's it.
Wow.
So it seems to be, there has been a lot of change. And then the Toastmasters bit, I think, really helped as well to make that fast change.
So that was like one of those ways that you can do it fast. Is there any book or anyone that you found inspired you to want to make shifts like this?
Yeah, there's a book, I think, Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakiani.
Yeah. I haven't read his book.
Code of the Extraordinary Mind. If I think that's the name of the book.
Okay.
I found that incredibly. Yeah, I enjoyed reading that book, and mostly it sort of codified what I'm talking about right now in terms of talking about change, about shifting who you are as a person, and what all you can do, like your limitless potential to be who you are, even though you think that is a completely different, distant possibility, and you can't see yourself. But it talks about that fast change that you can make because your mind is extraordinary, and you can change yourself in an instant if you try hard. Well, it's not easy, obviously, but there are ways you can do that. But it talks about techniques like meditation, about how to change your inner beliefs, and how to, it has constant work on it because it's easy to regress, right, and go back.
Yeah, I think it becomes a way of life, right? You're constantly integrating it. But what it got me thinking is asking you about, I know you do a lot of tremendous stuff. But when I think back, you were saying you changed when you were a child, and you probably had dreams or visions of who you want to become. Mm-hmm. And there's this extraordinary mind. Have you reached closer, or are you still en route to that same dream? Or does that dream pivot in the extraordinary mind practice?
Yeah. I think absolutely it keeps pivoting and changing, and who I want to be also keeps changing, but I'm still discovering that. And I think I still have a long way to go. But I suppose what I tried to do is, a few years ago, I remember, I was at a certain point in my career and I wanted this promotion and I thought I wouldn't get it and I thought I wasn't ready. So I decided to change the way I thought. Okay. So I spent, I was doing meditations and I was to tell myself, I am that person. So I just pictured myself in the promoted, as I had got the promotion, I was working at this higher senior level and everyone reached out to me like that. I would talk, my day-to-day activities and how I worked would be as though I was at the senior level. And it completely shifted how I approached what I was doing at work, how I was behaving to other people. There were people who actually commented and said, "There's some change in you. What did you do? You're behaving differently."
Yeah.
And remarkably, I got the promotion in like 4 to 5 months, and after that, I got the promotion as well. My manager put me up, and I thought, okay, wow, that I think that's an example of how I was able to make that fast change just by shifting my mind, and that shifted the way I act and brought myself forward.
It makes sense because I'm reading this book on visualization. Because I know I went through a period where I was completely burnt out, exhausted, but I also found that I burnt out my imagination. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I was just, I was like, okay, I want to imagine, I want to visualize going forward, but I
Mm.
couldn't. I just couldn't tap into it. So when I'm listening to you, it's almost like even though you see something, you say, okay, I want to be like that. You want to have to start visualizing from the inside. So was that easy for you to feel like I am this, I am that? How did you get to that visualizing part?
I would say it wasn't easy, but I think meditation really did to help, and the visualization, just bring the feeling of and repeating to yourself that you are this person, and you are this person, and you keep repeating yourself constantly, so you're imbibing it into you, and it becomes you. And I know it's sometimes you can forget and you go back, but you're constantly reminding yourself again and again till it becomes you. And it takes time sometimes, and sometimes it can be fast, but um, I think, yeah, especially in the morning and in the evenings, I try and do that when I going to sleep. I keep imbibing myself. I'm actually going also learning this new technique. I'm doing this course on lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming, yes. And it's really interesting. It's like lucid dreaming is when you're dreaming, you realize you are in a dream. In your dream, you realize you're dreaming because you notice something strange, like, oh,
Yes.
yeah, I am dreaming.
Okay.
And then the next stage is that you're able to then influence your dreams. Because at that point, if you can influence your dreams, you're able to reach out into your deep subconscious and be able to clear blocks. You're able to open out realities and that you might not be able to. So I'm still trying to do it, but the idea is that, okay, then you can tell your subconscious that this is me, this is this person, or we can find out what the blocks are that are preventing you from making that change you want.
So you're dreaming
Yes,
in your dream.
in your dream. And
How do you? I'm like curious. How do you? I've never heard this one before.
yeah. So you start off by trying to so I'm keeping a dream diary right now as a start. So every day in the morning, I spend 10-15 minutes. It's just as a wake out to try and remember as much as I can of my dreams. And then I note it down immediately, like, on my phone. Once I've got an idea, then I note it down. And then over time, I'm looking at reading what I've written over the weeks to see if there's any patterns. And then and then you do these meditation techniques as well to say, I will be aware of my dreams. I will be aware. I will be aware. And I will wake up during my dream, in my dream. So you train yourself sort of to get to that point. And then the idea is that you're able to then influence. So you can call out, if you, for example, you're in a nightmare, in something, recurring nightmare, for example, you can tell your nightmare, that's it, I'm going to embrace you and I'm going to take you in, fold you in. So it's sort of integrating some of it's used for trauma. Actually, it's a great tool to use for trauma, and but it can also be used for
going forwards.
Going forward as well. So I have an example. So this is guy Charlie Morey, that he runs the course, but he was saying an example of a person who wanted to stop smoking. What he did was he was going on this lucid dreaming course. But when he started to do lucid dreaming, he was able to go into his dream, and he asked for his brain to come to him, and his brain came in the form of a lady. And he told the lady, like, every time I think of smoking, replace it with another thought. And remarkably, after that, when he woke up, he never touched a cigarette again. And his partner used to still continue smoking and used to send him to buy cigarettes. And he'd always go to the supermarket and he'd always forget to get the cigarettes. Some part of his brain was just blocking it out.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when the way I stopped smoking, because I used to smoke a lot.
Yeah.
And I started downsizing, smoking. And then I have a friend, he's a monk, and he used to like put this, anything that was like looking like a cigarette box, he'd put in front of him, and he'd be like, and I was like, what do you mean? And then once he says, I'm not asking you to give up, just become friends with the cigarette.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he says, well, when you smoke it with 100%. So it was like meditating with that cigarette. And sure enough, it just went going less and less and less.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I never craved for it afterwards, if that makes sense. It just went down to the point that it went. But I didn't have it through dreams. But the power of training your mind is I do believe in that part.
I think that's an example of you took a shortcut there. You absolutely took a shortcut there, right? People try
feel like a shortcut.
Okay.
And yet but a lot of people find meditation really hard. I mean, you and I are talking about it because we do it, but a lot of individuals really, really struggle with meditating. So lucid dreams, if your mind is really, really busy, that I see the struggles in that or not. What do you think?
Lucid dreaming and mindfulness is really essential for lucid dreaming because in a way so one of the techniques they tell you is that you need to be mindful in real life. So you look around and actually observe everything and note that things are different, because then when you're in a dream, you have that habit of noting, and because all dreams are incredibly strange. When you remember back dreams, they're like, oh, that's absolutely fantastical. How could that happen?
Yeah.
It is trying to notice,
what's the connections?
Yeah. So it's trying to notice in the dream that something is strange. And to develop that habit, you need to develop it in your waking state to be mindful of surroundings and what's happening.
But okay, I have this thing with mindfulness. People say just be mindful. And I'm like, okay, stop. Just say it. Now break it down. What does that mean for you? What does mindfulness mean for you?
For me, it's more about being aware of my thoughts. So being aware of what my mind is doing. Sometimes it just goes into random thoughts and then I don't know how I got to that particular thought. But it's just being aware that, I'm thinking like that. And just thinking, that's interesting that this thought came into my mind, and just acknowledging it. So even if it is, I feel like I need to eat something. I feel like I need a chocolate right now.
Yeah.
Just examining, that's interesting. Why do I feel like I haven't eaten chocolate?
So you're very curious about whatever comes in your energy field or in your vicinity, I would say. So in your surroundings.
In your surroundings and then how that affects your thoughts.
So when you're multitasking...
Yes.
Go back to that. So when you're multitasking, how can you invite somebody to be more aware of their vicinity? Because I find it's very hard because let's say if you're responsible, you're looking after everything.
Yes.
Work, you have your family, your partner, you have your routine also with yourself. That juggling. And there's a lot more. In Asian community, I think there's also the whole family aspect as well. So how do you navigate that, the multitasking and all of that mindfully, as one would say?
It's incredibly difficult, but it does help that. I do enjoy project management, to be honest.
Well, okay, that shares a lot.
So I do plan out things and when things have to occur, and when I'll be book things in advance, for example, things to do with my kids, things to do with my husband, or if if there are courses I'm doing, how to slot those in, holidays, birthdays. I think everything I do try and plan in advance. I do think the downside of multitasking is that you don't slow down. It's always constant, constant, constant. There are weekends where you're just running from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other, and that does I don't think that's great to do on a constant basis. So I do also try and keep weekends where nothing is planned and we just take it with the flow. There are some weeks that I don't do much. So I try and have a balance of trying to do as much as I can with also, yeah, let's take it slow. It's time to slow down now.
I think that's actually quite nice. I know for me, I call this energy management. So you manage it like, okay, I know my Mondays to Fridays, I'm this much of my capacity, but I balance it with the weekend of restoration. And for me, it's reverse. Like in the mornings, my weekends are intense, but my Mondays and my Fridays are the least where I cool down. I call it the cooling down phase, and that helps. So I do understand what you mean by finding the balance, but where I wonder is, what about the element of surprise?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
How do you navigate that then? So, when you're in project management, everything goes according to plan. How do you, and if surprises happen, what then?
Yeah, I think we just deal with it in terms of, okay, we were going to do something, but that didn't work out. Maybe somebody's sick. Maybe we're actually late for this thing because of traffic. There's multiple things that can happen, right?
So you don't get stressed about them?
No, I don't. I used to get stressed. I used to get really stressed and upset when things didn't go as planned. But that was also a mental shift I made in myself a few years back, that I will not get stressed. As an example, we're doing a home renovation, year plus project. Actually, it's been 2 or 3 years in the planning. And at the start of it itself, when we started, I said, I will not get stressed about this. And countless things have gone wrong, and countless things. We thought this project would be done 2 years ago. And we're at the end of it now, but honest to God, I have not gotten stressed. There was a point, at least that's not wrong. There was a point when I was crying. Me and my husband were crying, and we were like, oh God, this is the most awful thing that ever happened. And that was the only time. But after that, it's like, no, I'm not going to focus on this thing that didn't happen the way we wanted it to happen. We're going to move on. We're not going to think about it. Even if we think about it, we're like, okay, there's no point crying over spilled beans here. Let's just move on. And I think that has helped so much with just, I'm a happier person. I'm not fretting about something that could have, I could break down and think like, oh God, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. Why did I even start this? Like, no, it's been a great learning experience. I've learned so much. We're going to have a beautiful house at the end of this. We're going to be happy and living here, and just fill myself with positive thoughts. And that's
breakthrough. They say breakdowns are breakthroughs. So when people do mindfulness, I've always seen them break down. I always say it's letting go of a habit, or letting go of, there's some form of a death of a habit, or a death of something, a death of an expectation. And you need to have that. Just to go forward. And it's hard. I totally hear you. I've had those moments where I'm like, wow.
And I think that is another shortcut as well. But breakdowns are shortcuts if you get through those and get to the other side of it.
That's very, very true, actually. Oh, I like that. I never thought I was going to share it. You were going to share that with me, that there are shortcuts, but the shortcuts come with the highs and with the lows. And it also reminds me of in these teachings from these different masters like Krishnamurti, and they did this and Muji, and all their practices, even meditations, they would tell you, no, you're just going to go through it, just go through it. And they would say the the quickest way to finding yourself is going through it.
Oh, wow.
Rather than going around. And that's the shortest way. So when you're talking, I'm like, was this a reminder for me or,
Just go through it. I love it.
go through it. That's going to be the motto of the year. Just go through it.
Yeah.
And so now you're doing the marathon.
Sorry, it's a 10K, but yeah.
Sorry. Now you're doing 10K. What are the so other than training every day, I assume it's training, there's a lot of training involved. Eating patterns also change?
Eating patterns, yes. And I must say that has been, that's still a little bit of a struggle in my life. I mean, I think I've improved a lot. I'm still working on, so I think in my life, I've tried to see all the areas that I'd like to move forward in. So there's obviously your physical body, and nutrition is part of that. There's your spiritual self and how to grow there. There's also the career and how to grow there. Then there's your relationships as a parent, as a partner, with your family, your parents, and then there's the friendship aspect as well, like the social and the community.
Yeah.
So I think in all these areas, I've tried to identify what's the next step where I'd like to be or where I want to be eventually.
Yeah. I like the word you said, growing forward. That's my motto of the year. So you see it, but do you do it every so often or do you once a year? How do you plan that?
So a few years ago, actually, at the start of COVID, my husband and I did a joint exercise together. We did something called Life Book, where there's these 12 aspects where we spend a lot of time, we spend hours putting together a joint vision on what we want in each of these areas.
Oh, how lovely.
And I try to keep that in the back of my mind. But at the same time, so I try to visualize myself as, okay, this is where I want to be or in each of these areas. So as a parent, for example, I obviously want to be able to get to that point where I know what to say in certain occasions, right, with your children when something upsetting happens or something. And there's different ways you can do. If a child is upset, you can react to it in one way, or you can be understanding, or you know exactly what the right thing to say at that point is to make them feel better. And it's not easy. So that's that. So I try to visualize myself as the parent that does that. And similarly with food and nutrition, I visualize myself, I'm the person who eats good, healthy food, has good habits. So I think we've talked about intermittent fasting. So I do intermittent fasting as a regular thing. I'm not attracted to sugar, which I think I still have a long way to go. But those kind of things, I remind myself that is the person I want to be.
It almost makes it much more clearer having this, because then you say, okay, even though you have them, you become friends with your mind. So for me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
But you're also building a relationship with the things that you haven't reached yet. So it's not like you're saying, no, it's a bad thing or a good thing. Because when you have low self-esteem or you have low value, which is what I have for a very long time, that narrative can come back so quickly. So you're saying if you do the visualization, but not judge yourself. So have that power of self-inquiry, you'll approach it differently.
Yeah. You absolutely should not be beating yourself about it. That will lead to the low self-esteem, and just so I tell myself that yes, I'm not perfect. I'm some days I'm just going to be doing things that I don't want to be doing. So I might have some bad habits that I might be indulging in, but I'm still growing. That is fine. It's just a process. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there. So I have the belief I will get there. Yeah. I do want to shortcut getting there, but if I'm not there yet, I'm not going to beat myself about it.
So it's really a nice rhythm you have with yourself. And I think it's important mentioning it because as women, we are very hard on ourselves. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I notice a lot of women. We are very tough on ourselves and on each other as well. It can be. Yeah. And so the measurement of getting there, I like what you're saying. It's like you have to believe you're going to get there rather than have anything intrusive coming into that field that says, no, maybe you're not going to get there, or the voice in your head bringing it down. But then talking about that, career. Has your narrative around career shifted?
It has. It has. I think as a child, I mentioned to you, I wanted to be the CEO of Microsoft. I felt like I loved computers. I loved software programming, and I used to idealize Bill Gates, to be honest, as a child, and I used to say, "Wow, this guy built this amazing computer, Microsoft, Windows, and I want to build something like that." And I think over the time, I still kept that want to build something. I still want to build something, but it's no longer something in my career, or it's not something that I want to. Yeah, I still do want to do well in my career, but I think I more move like I want to build myself, my community, my family, my friends, and that's become my goal now. Is like trying to build what I have around me, the holistic thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at singularly. Yes, in my career, I want to get to the top position, but I want to get to a holistic life where I'm not sacrificing anything in one sphere to get the career, for example.
I think it's something very interesting you're saying that, because, well, there's that whole argument of, especially in the corporate career, there's a certain level women do not want to go to. And then they're like, we wish more women would do that. And they have to do it. And then there's almost the lack of realization that to some degree, the sentence, can women have it all? Which I did a conversation about that last year. But then I asked myself, what does that really mean? Women have it all. So for your definition, saying letting your dreams change, there's no part of you that regrets letting go of that childhood dream?
No, I just don't want it anymore.
Okay.
I don't feel that I've sacrificed things, because I think I'm really happy where I am.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a lot more to achieve. So I'm still looking forward to achieving those things. But I think there are more important things to achieve other than in your career and going up the ladder. And I suppose the question, I know a lot of people might ask the question, right? As women, is that a decision that we make consciously, and is that a decision we make because we have families?
That's a good question. Yeah,
I'm not sure. And I've seen women in my career who've gone through that decision and who made the decision in favor of family and not careers. And I've seen women who've absolutely prioritized their careers and still managed their children. I don't think there's a right or wrong here. It's what you have to decide for yourself.
But you had that also, right? When you had your child, did you imagine yourself being able to navigate this whole boat like this?
No, I think I did sort of in myself say that I was maybe a little bit animist. I desired to have my non-child life back, so I could have the things that I was doing. So I think I fought it for a long time. Maybe the first few years as a mother, I would want I'm not being able to do the things I could have done. I'm missing so much out because now I have this additional responsibility. So I fought it for a long time.
Yeah.
But again, at one point I realized that this is not working out, this way of thinking. I need to embrace who I am at this point in life. I need to embrace my family as it is. And I need to say, okay, fine, I'm not able to go out and stay late at work. Maybe I'm not able to go out in the evenings and do as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's fine. Instead, I have time to spend here with my family. And then I decided, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow in another aspect of my life. Because I for a long time, I didn't realize what having children does to you. it makes you evolve as a person and makes you learn a lot about yourself because you have to confront yourself when you're a mother. As everything I do is reflecting on my child, and this is a person who's going through an emotional part of their life, and if I don't know how to react and help them grow, and helping them grow is helping me grow because I'm growing as a person by learning those skills of being able to teach someone to be able to manage their emotions. I'm being able to manage my own emotions by teaching them to be able to lead a healthier life. I have to lead a healthier life too. So it's that aspect of, this is such a great area for growth as a parent, because it's sort of a mirror reflecting back at you at the end of the day.
It's a mirror, and it's also letting her be herself in the long run, to evolve herself as well, right?
Yeah, and that itself is another skill that I have to learn to be able to let my children.
Can't project management that.
You cannot project manage this.
No, you can't project manage. That's the one thing I did learn. Every parent I speak to. Talking of which, so when it comes to motherhood, one thing a lot of women also, when they are moms and then they go into work, they always diminish the fact that being a mom is like, oh, I can't take this to work. Do those skills also apply? It's like, have you taken skills that you learned from your relationship with your child into work? Is it able to help with teams and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel when I think this is with any relationship, not just with children, but with any relationship where you are so close to someone, your children, your partner, your friend, and when they are at your worst behavior with you because they can afford to be.
True.
So you, as a person, need to deal with that. So then you are getting, in any relationship, that is a skill that you develop, right? And at work, it's less amplified. But those tensions are still there, but it is usually under the surface. So then it helps you then able to, how do you react to that? How do you call it up? How do you manage those conflicts? So absolutely, it helps with that conflict resolution. It helps with influence. It helps with negotiation. You imagine negotiating with a child on TV time.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking about my friend when she used to negotiate with her children.
Yeah. And that's a very base level negotiation there with your child. But it absolutely does reflect onto at work as well.
Okay, so what comes first then? Acceptance or mindfulness?
That's an interesting question. I don't know, won't they come hand in hand? Because being mindful is when being aware of your thoughts, and then you're accepting them. Yeah, I suppose maybe mindfulness does come first, because you have to be aware of yourself and your thoughts before you're able to accept it.
I've always asked myself that question, because sometimes I'm like, how can you accept and be, how can you accept yourself and be very aware of your surroundings? Because in your head, it's takes a lot of patience to step back and observe. So I have always asked myself, what comes first, acceptance or mindfulness? And do they both come, like you rightfully said, do they both come together or immerse into one? So as I was listening to your story, as I was listening to your life, and you're telling me about how you task and everything, what I find so beautiful is this level of acceptance you have with yourself, of your highs and your lows. So you're not saying I'm just got this all knocked down. You're very accepting of yourself when the dips happen.
Yeah.
And I find that I've seen a lot of moms, they'll come, or a lot of individuals, female primarily, say, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. But then
Yes.
the narrative of, and they'll say, I'm mindful, but then I don't see the acceptance in it. And so that's why I was asking, acceptance or mindfulness.
Right,
So
right.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it does help probably to have the acceptance first, because that's leading with that low confidence and the low self-esteem and beating yourself up, right? So yeah, just accepting that this is how I am. But yeah, I think it does go in hand. You do need to be mindful. I need to have the mindfulness to be able to do that as well. Just to step back and say, yeah, this is okay. This is where I am. I'm not going to beat myself about it. I'm not going to keep thinking and asking questions, why, and having that negative cycle. So being mindful of those negative cycle of thoughts. So you can stop yourself and say, that's okay. It's okay. I know I'm thinking like this right now. It's fine to think like this.
Yeah.
And just accept it. Even don't beat yourself about thinking like that.
And now what I also like about our conversation is that it didn't get into the positive language, you know. You're telling me this is reality. You can make the reality happen. You got to work at it. So it's not like, oh, let's just dismiss it. It's all positive.
Yeah.
And what fascinates me, and it keeps coming back in my thoughts, is how you changed you said, I went into a new school, I changed my image, and I moved forward. Even at that age, you already kind of knew you could change if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And was that because of upbringing, or was that something just you always felt?
I think I've always felt. I discovered this very early in childhood because I was an awful child. I threw tantrums all the time. I was so spoiled. I used to be carried everywhere, given exactly what I wanted to eat. And if I didn't get my way, I'd throw tantrums. Every family gathering, I would throw a tantrum. And I would
Not
cry
something new.
because my cousins didn't play with me the way I wanted them to play. And I would hide under the table crying, and they would just leave me. And I remember one occasion where I was doing that, and my mom was coming to help me and get me out of there. And I heard my aunt telling her, just leave her, just let her be there, and she'll be fine. And I sat there the entire evening thinking to myself, no one is coming to me. And there's no point being there under the stable. It is up to me to change, to get out and do something.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like this anymore. I stopped having tantrums after that.
Interesting.
I said, oh, I'm going to be the nicest child, most patient child ever. And it completely changed, flipped me. I remember that as a defining moment, told me that, yes, I can change if I want to. I can make a decision to change the person I am and be the person I am. And I think I always remember that, and I try to do that at other points in my life. I think it's the breakdown moment, right, that you have in your life. You say, yeah, this is not the life I want to have. And then you decide to make that change.
It's amazing that you remember so young, that you remember that defining moment.
I guess my parents must have been happy that it happened.
Horrible. It was your birthday.
But it gives me like hope, right? Anyone can change, any child, any person can change. But ultimately, it is up to them to make that decision.
So if you had one message, because I wanted to celebrate you, because our friendship has been for quite a few years.
Yeah,
I always admire your dedication. And when your sister-in-law mentioned to me about your multitasking, I was like, yeah, that's really that's Anita. It was just like, yeah, that's true. So, and I admire your calmness with it and how you approach it. So if you had one message for every woman out there to just celebrate their lives more, What
Yeah.
would be that message that you would say, do this and it'll make all the difference?
Just believe in yourself and believe in where you are right now, and believe that where you want to be, so that you will be there, that you will get to where you want to be. But life is a journey. Just enjoy that journey to get you there.
And I'm going to leave it on that one. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying yes. That was my highlight when I asked you. I was like, Anita said yes.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Kirti.
Thank you. Well, so what do you say yes to? And what do you say no to? Between the time of the interview to where the date of publishing is, I spent a lot of time reflecting on this. What do you say yes to? And what do you say no to? And I found myself doing a lot of editing in my life that I was gaining more and more free time. And now I'm applying to what she did with her husband, which is intentional planning. And that is a very interesting take on where my life is going now. And if you haven't yet, do follow my newsletter because I'm going to be sharing more about that. And let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you say yes to? What did you say no to? What was it in this podcast that made you think differently in the way you are managing your work-life blend? Have a good one. Until the next one, take care.